This is Election 2021, the Las Cruces School Board Forum for District 1. Thanks for being with us. Our rules today are simple. The candidates have 1 minute to answer each question, and they should not mention an opponent in their answer. I'm joined by Dale Yeo of the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico, and our candidates are Abelardo Balcazar and Ray Jaramillo. Abelardo, we start with you for the first question, and it's a simple one. Why are you running for the Board of Education? And if elected, what will be your top priorities?
Well, the reason I'm running for the school board is the numbers clearly show that the schools in my district are not meeting proficiency levels in reading, writing, in reading, math, and science. We need a change.
Okay.
I decided the things that I want to do to solve this problem is, number one, increase parental involvement, increase investment in STEM programs in the elementary schools, and finally, increase investment in after-school education programs for all our students.
Thank you very much. Ray, we move to you now for your answer on that question.
It's quick. Thank you, Fred. It's quick. Two of my priorities are the reason why I'm running for re-election is I'm a parent. I'm a parent of a high school senior. My son just graduated from Las Cruces Public Schools, and I'm invested as a parent in our school district. So that's number one. And number two, for over half of my life, over 26 years, I have been an educator. And it's my passion. These things that we're dealing with here in Las Cruces Public Schools is what I live for. And so I think that as an early childhood educator, I can bring my perspective into policies and things that we're doing around education here in Las Cruces Public Schools. I guess my biggest priority would be to have some stabilization within our district. We've had 3 superintendents in the last 4 years while I've been elected, and I would like to bring some stabilization. And I would also like to bring, I guess my biggest priorities would be a focus on early childhood education. I think that's the foundation, and also CTE programs.
Okay, thank you, Ray. We're out of time. Our second question now from Dale.
Ray, what experiences or skills have prepared you to serve as a board member?
That's a good question, Dale. Thank you very much. Well, I have a master's degree in early childhood education, and I have worked with young children for over 26 years, like I mentioned in Fred's previous comments. The other thing is that I'm a parent. And so all of these things combined with the last 4 years of working within the district, I think that I owe it to my community, and I owe it to the investment of my district to be able to continue some of those things. There's a big learning curve when you jump into a position like this. And after the last 4 years, I would like to use my experience and my connections that I've made with families and to continue the good stuff that we're doing here at Las Cruces Public Schools.
And Abelardo?
Well, I am a 20-year Navy vet. I've served in the military in the United States Navy for 20 years. And I believe my leadership in the military has shown me how to work with others to achieve solutions to problems. And I am also a graduate of New Mexico State. I have a degree in business. And we need to go back to understanding that we need to make good, informed, decisive decisions when it comes to our students' education. So as a member of the military, as being married for 24 years, raising my children, I see the needs that our schools have, and caring for my children, caring for my grandchildren, nieces and nephews, and our students in our community will help me make the informed and decisive decisions that are going to improve our children's education.
Abelardo, our next question, how does the board member role differ from the role of the superintendent or the administration?
Well, the board member's role primarily is to set policy for the school district. It's also very important for the school board member to be familiar with the budget and how we're spending money that's allotted for education, and to support the superintendent in implementing the policies that are passed by the school board, by giving the superintendent the resources that superintendent needs to implement the policies that are passed by the school board. That's why it's important to be familiar with the deficiencies and the needs that are not being met within the education system, so we can set policy to address it.
Thank you, Ray.
That's a good question. And a lot of people out in the public don't understand the difference between the two roles. The the school board has 5 things that they are able to do. That's they have control over the budget. They can hire and fire the superintendent. They're in charge of all policy, land acquisition, and then we have the authority to sue and be sued. That's it. The day-to-day operation is what the superintendent is in charge of. The only employee that we have direction over is the superintendent. And so therefore, our role is to support, to come together as a group. A school board member is never alone. It's always a group, and we act as a group, we vote as a group. And we, set the policies that adhere to our mission and our goals of our district. And our budget should reflect that of our mission and our goals. And so HB 212 clearly defines the two different, and it's very, as we've seen in the news recently across the state, many school boards have crossed those lines. And it's very important to understand where your role is and how to utilize your role in making the best for your district.
Thank you, Ray. Dale.
Hey, Ray, should the school board take action on civics education, including the understanding of democracy and voting rights? Please explain.
So the quick question, or the quick answer, is absolutely yes. A good friend of mine who was a school board member, Mr. Maury, he was Castro, was very adamant about getting civics back into our classroom, and I stand for that. And if I'm elected, I will continue to advocate to continue to get that. I think it's an important part of our democracy that students understand their role and the importance of civics and voting and finding out, just like you are here, the candidates, what we stand for. And so absolutely, I believe that civics is a vital part of our education, and for far too long it's been lost. And so I would love for that to be a priority of our district.
Thank you. Abelardo?
Yes, it's very important to have civics education in our schools. Our constitutional republic, the powers are derived from the people, and our students need to have that preparation. So when they are of age to be part of our local government, state government, federal government, that they have the information and the tools to be able to make informed decisions that are going to affect the future and the direction of our country. So I am definitely in support of civics education if it's based on the founding principles of the Constitutional Republic of the United States.
Abelardo, explain your position on charter schools. Do you see positive or negative impacts of these schools?
Yes, I see charter schools as a very positive part of our educational system. When we give parents the choice of where they send their children to school, we empower the parents. A child should not be doomed by the zip code of where they live to attend a school that may not be performing where it should be. We need to empower parents to have more choice over the education of their children, and give less authority to agencies on how a child should be educated.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And, I think that there's room for charter schools. First, I want to say that I believe in our public schools. and I believe that they have all the necessary tools. But, just like we're talking about equity, it's been in the news recently, I think that oftentimes not everyone learns in the same direction. So I think that there is room for some charter schools if they're done right. We've also seen charter schools that have abused the system and that are in there for just making money. And so I really support what's best for children. And if that is an alternative way of learning, then I think that's good. So it just depends, I think, on the school and what they're doing, and if they're abiding by what they're supposed to be doing, and for children. But as a moneymaker, I don't see it like that. And sometimes charter schools are that way. But I think that, like I said, all children learn differently, and if they can utilize that, then that would be good.
All right, thank you, Ray. Dale?
Okay, Ray, what would you do to promote parental involvement with the schools?
Well, you know what? Right now, it's something that I think that we have been doing through COVID-19. We've had to readjust a little bit on parental involvement. You couldn't come to school board meetings. We had to do those via Zoom. I think that we need to get out there a little bit more. I think we need to invite parents. I think when we put out surveys to parents, that we need to listen to them. I think they are a big stakeholder, and I think we send the wrong message when we do things that are against, some of the what the parents want. I think that there's a balance between all stakeholders, and I think that once we utilize all of our options to be able to get those that feedback in, whether it be technology or getting into the classroom. But I'm actually a parent, so I understand how to get that information to the right people that are making the decisions.
Abelardo, what would you do?
Yes, definitely we need to listen to parents. When parents make the time to attend a school board meeting, we need to listen to their input and seriously consider input before we make a decision on policy for the schools. In addition, we need to increase our investment in increasing parental involvement in schools. Right now, the current budget priorities has the investment for parental involvement at less than 1% of the budget. We need to put our money we need to prioritize our spending on things that are going to improve student outcomes. And having an involved family in a student's education is going to increase and improve student outcomes for all our students.
Abelardo, how can a Board of Education best communicate with its various constituent groups?
It's very important to use all forms of communication. Right now, with social media, we need to use all those means of communication: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We need to. I remember when I was in school, a lot of times when we wanted to get messages to my parents, we would send information with the students to get to their parents. We also need to empower the parent groups back in each school, get those reorganized, get them empowered, get them involved, get them resources and training so they can be a good influence in our schools. We need to open those lines of communication by encouraging it, so that when parents do communicate with us, that we listen and that we don't make them feel that they are not being heard.
Thank you. Ray?
Fred, if you don't mind, if you could repeat the question, please.
Sure, absolutely. And the question is, how can a Board of Education best communicate with its various constituent groups?
And I think yes, there's a lot of different ways, and through technology is one way, through our website is another way, but really, being in the community is the biggest way. I've been in our community now for over 30 years. I go to work with our community members, with our parents. I go to shop at the stores where people are shopping. They don't have any problems with me while I'm waiting in line to cash out my groceries, to tell me a little bit about what's happening in their schools. And then to be present. to be present inside the schools, to be present inside of our community, not just at sporting events, but at music events, at arts things. And so there's all sorts of different ways that our school board, and it is to be present, be with the people that are actually, have the students in our district, and really be able to talk to them, and the relationships. And I think the relationships are huge. People know how to get a hold of me. They know where I live. They know where I work. And I've made it so that parents feel comfortable contacting me.
Thank you. Dale.
What should the Las Cruces Public Schools be doing to increase equity?
That's a great question. It's also a controversial question, and I like it. Policy JBC is what you're referring to, and I think that it's important that people understand that that it's about time that we level the playing field for all of our students. And what I mean by that is giving our students the necessary tools to be successful. Does that mean just giving the book to everyone? No, that is equality. Equity means providing some additional support to that student that may not be able to read that book in its language, or maybe that someone studies something online a little bit better than they do in person. That is what equality is about. And also bringing in others' perspectives. We all have grown up with a different cultural lens, and being able to say, to making an environment feel comfortable for them to express their lens and how they grew up, and incorporating that into our education is exactly what Policy JBC is about.
Abelardo.
Yes, I believe that we should definitely honor and celebrate the diversity of our students. But I also believe that it's important not to be divisive, not to focus on our differences, but to focus on our common humanity. The basic essence of equity is fairness. As long as we're treating our students fair, providing them the resources they need to succeed throughout the entire student body, I believe we are achieving equity in our schools.
Abelardo, how do you assess the district's safety measures taken to prevent the spread of COVID-19?
Well, I'm a safety professional. That's my job with the city of Las Cruces. And the number one thing we need to measure before we instill protections against a hazard in a safety environment is assess risk. We need to instill safety measures that are measured on risk. If a person has a low risk, then we need to instill safety measures that protect a person with low risk. On the other hand, if a population or an individual has a higher risk, then of course we would increase safety measures. To set a safety measure across the board for everyone and not taking into account risk is not the proper way to mitigate a potential hazard.
Ray?
So first off, I want to say and congratulate our administration in doing such a great job in providing the foundation to get children back in school. And that's exactly what we've done. We've done it safely. We've done it under the recommendations of the CDC and the New Mexico PED department, and we've done it well. And our goal is to make sure that children are safe and to provide not only our children, but also the educators that are in our buildings. And we're not talking just about teachers, but we're talking about custodians, and we're talking about people in the offices, and to really make sure they all have families, and we want to make sure that everyone is safe. Now, with that being said, a lot of the procedures are handed down by public education department, but we've followed them, we've modified them, we've made the differences to make sure that children are in school. And if we do have an outbreak, we've set up the systems in place so our children can still continue to learn, like developing our courses on Canvas. If a child misses a couple of days, it's not going to be they're going to miss. They're going to be able to continue through Canvas.
Okay, Dale.
Hey, Ray. Las Cruces Public Schools recently increased pay to deal with a shortage of substitute teachers. Pay for full teachers is much lower than competing districts in El Paso. What should be done about this, if anything?
Absolutely. And I think what this has highlighted is really a bigger problem, right? Our teachers are underpaid and our substitutes are really underpaid. And, substitutes are a big part of our success in our school. And our teachers are parents, and sometimes they need to be away and things like that. But we need competent adults to be able to step in and do those jobs. And basically, what it's done is it's said, hey, we've underpaid substitute teachers for far too long. And what we need to do is we really need to advocate at the state level to make sure that their budget reflects that, and to utilize some state funding so our schools can actually put that into the budget and really draw in people, and we can pay them what they deserve to be paid.
Thank you. Abelardo?
Yes, the education of our children is one of the most important things that a community can do. So we must invest in our teachers and our substitute teachers. They are the lifeblood of our education system. We need to invest the dollars to give them fair compensation for the work that they do. The very important work of educating our children and our future generations, so they can do well in our society and they can be successful in their lives. So yes, definitely, we need to advocate to state government, the NMPED, to invest more money to increase the salaries of teachers and substitute teachers. And substitute teachers are also very important because teachers are also parents. Teachers also have, so they may have to miss time in the classroom, and our substitute teachers are that continuity of education for our students. So we must also invest in substitute teacher salaries.
Abelardo, what do you see as the biggest challenge for Las Cruces Public Schools?
I see the biggest challenge for Las Cruces Public Schools is the proficiency in reading, math, and science of our students. We need to find out we need to focus and invest in those programs that are going to increase student performance. If we are investing in programs that doesn't meet the following standards, that doesn't have clear and measurable goals, and that doesn't improve student achievement for the entire student population, then we shouldn't be investing in those types of programs.
Ray?
Yeah, so I think our biggest challenge right now that we face is one that our nation faces, a divided community. We have a lot of division within our community, and I think our schools are facing some of those challenges, whether it be masks, whether it be critical race theory. Those things are clouding what we can be doing for children. And I think that, I think as a school district, we're one of the largest employers. We have 25,000 students in our district roughly. And I think that our biggest challenge is to bring our community together to provide a safe health learning environment. Once we do that, then we can start working on some other stuff. But when those things are not in place, when children are hungry, when children don't have the necessary tools to learn, then learning, it has to take a step back. So we need to come together as a community to make sure that our students have the necessary tools that they need, so we can then move on to all of the other stuff that our district does. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dale.
Okay, Ray, as a board member, where would you look to make budget if this was needed?
It's always hard when you're looking at budget cuts in there, and I think that looking at a specific area may be hard, but I think that we would have to look across the board. I think we would have to look, first off, we have to look at at the top, at the administration. I think that's something that we would always have to look at. But then there's other things of what is working. Our superintendent talks about data. The data drives change, and that's something that we would, that I would request and say, let me see the data, and then be able to make informed decisions. And actually, our board would make those informed decisions. As a school board member, you are only one vote, and we only operate as one unit. And so I think that that's important to be able to look at the data, look what's working, see what other districts are doing as well, and then allocate that money to what is working and what we need and what we think may improve our educational outcomes. And I think some of those things are early childhood education and our career and technical education as well.
Thank you. Abelardo.
Yes, it's very important to assess the information and the standards I mentioned earlier. Well, before we invest money in a program, the program has to have clear and measurable goals, and it has to improve the education for the entire student population. In addition, the way we do that is we prioritize things such as increasing parental involvement in their students' education, investing more in those STEM programs at an earlier age, starting in the elementary schools, and investing after-school education programs for our students that will help them grow and help them have a increased love for learning.
Abelardo and Ray, thank you so much for participating in our forum. And Dale, thank you for the partnership with the League of Women Voters of Southern New Mexico. We are out of time. Thank you for joining us for Election 2021, the Las Cruces School Board Forum for District 1. Join us next week for a forum with the candidates in District 2. I'm Fred Martino. Have a great week.